Hello, my honeybees. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Kimberly Hess. I am your favorite cultural anthropologist and empowerment coach. And I'm on time today, and you can see me. I the last few lives I've had to make like a podcast because my camera wasn't working. But today it's working. Look at her. Look at her. We have to give ourselves wins when we can. What did you do today, right? To give yourself a win. What I did today was to get my camera working so you all could see me. Um, if you are watching live, drop in the comments what you did today to give yourself a win. I want to say hello to all my honeybees on LinkedIn, all my honeybees on YouTube, and all my honeybees on TikTok. It's Thursday, y'all. It's Thursday. One more day until the weekend. And I say that I do not work a 9 to 5, and yet I still relish the weekends. I feel like the collective consciousness is just a little more calm, a little more rested, and I feel that. I feel the energy of rest and ease on the weekends, even though I still work on the weekends, but not much, because as I am always advocating to you all to rest, right? So I rest. I rest. And I still work on the weekends because I love you all. I love what I do, and I'm trying to get out there, right? I am trying to get out there and be more authentic. We are on this journey today. Today's show is about authenticity, right? And I was thinking about it. The shows that I do, once again, I always tell folks, as I'm talking to you, I am talking to me. Even sometimes with my clients, I'll say something that I have picked up, or something that's profound from myself or someone else. And I always have to remind my clients, as I remind all of my honeybees on all of my platforms, as I'm talking to you, I am talking to me, because I believe life is a level up game that we will always be playing. We will never be 100% perfect. There will always need healing that happens. We will always need motivation. There's always a next level to get to, right? Whether that's with abundance, with money, with having better relationships with your family, being a better entrepreneur, being better at the work that you do. I always say you should learn something new every day, or you should be striving to be better every day. Whatever that better isn't necessarily, oh, I need to make more money. And if it is, good for you, right? Make that money. Money is a tool. Money is a good thing. It's neutral. Um, I believe that money, what's the word? Magnifies who you are. If you're a terrible person and you make more money, that's going to magnify who you are. If you are a kind, loving person, good person, and you make more money, that's going to magnify who you are. So I believe that every day we should be getting better and better and better. If that for you is being kinder, being more empathetic, being a better listener, girl, let's go. Let's go. All right. And today's show is about being unapologetically you, authenticity from your inner power. And y'all, I'm trying to do that. I am trying to show up more authentically. I have spent many decades um trying to fit into the mold of what I thought people, society, my culture, um what I thought everyone else wanted. And now, as I am really examining the world around me and myself internally, talk about self mastery. I believe people that have mastered themselves and who know themselves, right? Know thyself. They are authentic. And y'all, it's not easy to be authentic. For some, it's easier than others, right? I think particularly for those of the younger generation, younger than my generation, I don't know what generation I am. Maybe X. I'm after the boomers. I don't know. All the X, Gen Z, millennial. I don't know all of those, but I do know that I love the younger generation. People talk smack about, is it Gen Z, Gen Y? I don't know. Young people. We'll just say young people. People like 30 and younger, right? Or 20 and younger. And everyone's like, "Oh, they don't wanna work, they're lazy, blah, blah, blah." And I always say, "Well, who taught them that? We're the adults that were in charge of them, right?" So if we're pointing the finger at them, we got all the other fingers pointing at us. But I love the young generation. I'm on TikTok, and what how I see these younger people, especially young women, I am so proud of you. If you are a young woman listening to this, like younger than I'm in my fifth decade of life. So if you're younger than me, whether you're in your 40s or 30s or 20s or a teenager, I am so proud of you. From your Auntie Kimberly, I am so proud of you because a lot of these women are becoming very authentic, saying exactly what they want out of life and really breakering breaking the cultural conditioning, which is what we'll talk about. And so, hats off to you, young people, and hats off to people my age and older that are also leveling up, trying to be the best that they can be, realizing I have life left to live. So let's make it the best life that I can. So now I'm talking to all of you millennials and Z or Y or X, whatever I am, and the boomers. It's not too late. It is not too late to lead a glorious, beautiful life. And this is what I'm here to do. This is what I'm here to do. For those of you just coming in, my name is Kimberly Hess. I'm a cultural anthropologist. I'm a former DEI consultant, and I'm your empowerment coach. So I think it's very important to let people know that I am a cultural anthropologist, and I used to do a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting because that really frames the view, the lens about how I see the world and how I see all the topics I talk about. I talk a lot about self mastery, empowerment, motivation. And I believe we cannot talk about that without examining the culture that I live in and perhaps you live in, right? And they may even be different cultures, but your cultural conditioning, the culture that you grew up in, the programming, what your parents taught you, what your family's customs are, what your country's uh kind of ethos and work ethic, and also the programming that you got, whether from like Disney movies, your favorite TV shows, all that plays a part in who you are today, right? And also your authenticity. So let's get into it. Okay. So once again, we're going to talk about how to be unapologetically you, right? And I just wrote some notes over here. Y'all know every show I talk about, you do not need to hustle. You don't need to shrink. You don't need to pretend to fit in to anyone else's mold. And what I found out when I used to do diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting, I worked with pretty big corporations, governmental entities, like, part different political parties. We'll just say that. I won't say which one, but different political parties I've worked with, nonprofits, whether they be multinational, million plus dollar nonprofits or small local nonprofits. Guaranteed you, I would always talk to the employees talk. I mean, I would do like ethnographic interviewing and data collection, um, quantitative analysis. And I would find so many people, especially women, were shrinking, were hiding who they really were. And I say women, and then women of color, and specifically Black women, right? Which is why I'm coaching today. There's so many there's so many times that I would be doing an ethnographic interview. I would be finding out the culture of the company, to share with my team. And so we could analyze the data and give recommendations on how to make that company better in whatever ways that the company had hired us, whether it was hiring a more diverse population or correcting the lack of diversity, making the cultural, uh, how can I put this? Making the culture of the company or the nonprofit or government entity better in some ways, because typically companies would call us in when something was wrong, right? Something was wrong. And let me share the story that I've shared before, that this was just like a consultation to see if this particular company wanted to hire myself and my partner at the time. And they relayed an incident where there was a Black woman, and she was the only Black woman in the office, and she wore a headscarf, right? And sometimes you all will see me in those, but like a traditional headscarf with the print. And her boss came in. I don't know if it was her boss. I think it was her boss. It was her manager. Came in and said, "Oh, you look like Aunt Jemima." So I bring up this story because this is why a lot of people, particularly women, women of color, specifically Black women, it feels unsafe to be authentic, right? She was wearing a beautiful head wrap, and the joke, right? Like the president of the company who we were speaking with was like, "Oh, he was just joking," right? He was just joking about her looking like Aunt Jemima. And that was something that deeply hurt her. And that was just an accumulation of her being her authentic self, that she was under attack every time she went to work. And she ended up suing the company and winning. And it was giving a lot of bad press to this company. So, they found me and said, "Hey, can you help us?" We ended up not helping them because the president of this company was very unwilling to learn, right? And that's a topic for another day. I saw something yesterday that said there's a difference between ignorance and arrogance, right? When someone is ignorant, you can teach them, right? If I'm ignorant about something, like let's say I don't know how to change oil, I'm very ignorant on car mechanics and how to change oil. And ignorant doesn't mean stupid, right? If someone taught me how to change my car's oil, um, I would learn and I would no longer be ignorant, and then I would know how to change my car's oil. I don't know where I got that example from. But if I was arrogant, and if I was like, "Oh, I know how to change oil. You don't have to teach me. I know everything. I don't need your help. I don't need to learn." That's arrogance. And I am not going to learn how to change my car's oil, and then my car is going to break down because it doesn't have oil in it. Right? So do you see the difference between ignorance? Ignorance is not stupidity, it's just not knowing. So there's a difference between ignorance and arrogance. And sometimes we run across people who are arrogant, right? Sometimes people with a lot of power who are arrogant, who don't want to learn. So yes, they are ignorant, but they're also arrogant. And when people are arrogant, I'm like, "Hey, I can't help you. You have to be open and vulnerable." And for me, that also comes in hand with coaching. When I coach someone, they have to understand their ignorance, right? Just like I understand my ignorance. I do not know everything. And oftentimes, as I'm coaching someone, I'll say, "I don't know. Let's examine that together." But if I was arrogant and led you down the wrong path because I don't wanna admit my ignorance, ooh, baby, ugh. And so next time you encounter someone and you see a little defensiveness come out of them, right? Stop and take a deep breath and ask, are they coming from a place of ignorance or arrogance? Are they willing to sit down, discuss, learn, whether this is at work, in your home life, with your friends, out and about, or is it arrogance? Because you can't really work with someone that's arrogant. And that's once again tying it all back to authenticity. That's someone that's really hiding who they are. They want you or whoever else to think that they have everything under control and that they know it. And it's okay. It's okay not to know everything, right? Over here, sweet like honey coaching, we talk about not being, not everything does not have to be perfection, right? Actually, nothing has to be perfection. We just have to do. We have to start, to do, to complete, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So let's talk about how to get authenticity from yourself. It can only come from yourself. You can't buy it, right? You can't have Amazon ship it to you. You can't go to the mall and buy it, right? So once again, you do not have to fit anyone else's mold. So today I'm going to help teach you, right? I'm going to give you a few things. This is not the only way to become authentic, but just some things that, I think will help. So once again, we'll be using my inner power transformational framework, which we used yesterday. And for those of you who didn't see yesterday's live stream, definitely go check it out. And if you don't want to check it out, let's see if I could do this. Let's hope the picture stays. I'm trying to bring in the inner power transformational framework, but I don't want the camera to go. You know what? Let's not risk it today. Because I'm scared if I switch screens to my inner power transformational framework that it'll mess up the camera. And y'all, I have worked like 2 weeks to figure this out. So at the bottom of it's like a hierarchy. It's modeled after Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the Blackfoot tribe. So at the bottom where Maslow has your base needs for security and survival, like food, water, housing, air, the bottom of mine is gratitude, right? So it's gratitude and then self-care and then slowing down and then self-love. And at the very top is authenticity, right? So once you start pouring into yourself with that hierarchy, starting with gratitude, right? Really being grateful for your life and the things around you, and then taking care of yourself, whether that's a bubble bath or saying no or prioritizing your wants and needs, caring for self. And then once you do that, then you kind of learn to slow down. Not everything is a 911 emergency, right? If you're little Timmy needs cupcakes for school tomorrow and he didn't tell you until the night before, it is not something that you have to quickly figure out, girl, just go to the store and buy the cupcakes. They don't need to be homemade. Like slow down, right? It's fine. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Or better yet, pick up donuts on the way to school. Like slow down. You don't have to do everything at super speed, or you don't have to do everything at all. Read a book instead of, I don't know, going to a meeting, a non-essential meeting. So after we learn how to slow down, then we can start pouring into ourselves. We can start really loving yourself like you would love a small child or a baby we talked about. Love that inner child. If you didn't see the live yesterday, I recommended getting a picture of yourself when you were younger. Just a beautiful picture where you're just lit up and happy and all is well with the world and there was no bills that you had to pay. And when you think about treating yourself, think about that young child that you were. Get yourself the ice cream, right? Because that little kid in you would want the ice cream. Buy the book, you know, color, like really love yourself. Look, just like you would tell your child or another young child that you love, I love you. You're the best. You can do anything that you want to in the world. You got this. You're so smart. um, speak to yourself like this, right? Because I notice this is how I treat children around me, whether I know them or not. Like my sons are grown men now in their 20s, and I am their biggest hype person. You can do it. You're the best. I mean, because they are, right? But I also have a 6-year-old nephew, and my sons have half brothers who are also like eight and 5. And then my nephew is 6. And when I'm around these little boys, I am telling them, you are the best. You are fantastic. Oh my goodness, I believe in you so much. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how smart you are. Oh, you're so handsome. Y'all, we need to do this for ourselves. If I can hype up all of these younger people in my life, and actually I hype everyone up like that, but especially young people, um, why can't I do that for myself? Why can't I tell myself, Kimberly, you are the best. You are so smart. Oh my goodness, you're amazing. Oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. You're so awesome. Do that for yourself. And then we can get to being authentic. Now that I've gone on like a 20-minute rant, but this is how we do. Like I talk. I want to pour into you. I want to set a good foundation so you can go out in the world and be the best that you can be. And of course, live your life sweet like honey. I want you to live boldly, joyfully, and without apology. And we all see those people, whether we know them in real life or in the movies or on social media. For me, my best example is when I see people like with pink hair or purple hair, or people with visible tattoos, or people with piercings. And these people to me, they are being their authentic self. They are not caring what society thinks, right? Like a lot of times we dress a certain way because we don't want people looking at us. We don't want people judging us. And some people are like, I don't care if people judge me. I don't care if people judge me for my body size, for my tattoos, for my hair color, for what I do for a living, or how much money, or where I live, or my car. They're just living their best lives yet. And I want all of us to do that. And you don't need to have pink or purple hair or a neck tattoo or dress in goth or, you don't need to do that, but being your authentic self. So, first, I've already touched on this, but let's understand your programming. What voice is inside your head that's saying, I can't wear that outfit? What will the neighbors think? I can't take that job. What will my parents think? Um, being most of the fear of being authentic comes from internalized voices, right? The voices inside of our head: family, culture, society, patriarchy, racism, trauma. And a lot of times the things that we want to do, we're like, oh, I can't do that. And it's not you saying that. It's not your higher self. It's not your soul saying no. It's those internalized voices of what I just mentioned. Um the example that I just gave of the potential client having the consult with me and my partner, and hearing about his employee wearing the headscarf and being made fun of it. That if she the next day would say, I want to wear this headscarf, but I can't be my authentic self because I'll be made fun of. That was that internalized voice that was impacted by trauma and racism of people in the past making fun of her, right? That's that internal voice. So let's look at the programming. This was a long time ago, but I had a friend of actually my ex-husband who what was actually absolutely brilliant, and he was an account or he's very high up now, but at the time he was in school like for finance or accounting. But he said his dream job would have been to be like a park ranger. And I was like, why don't you do that? Because I'm super idealistic. And he was like, no, my parents would not think that was a good idea. And now I'm older, I get it. But in his heart, in his soul, he wanted to be in nature, right? He wanted to work for the natural parks helping people enjoy nature and hiking and all the things that come with the beauty of Mother Nature. But that internalized voice of his parents, of society saying, you know, go this route, you'll make more money, it'll be more prestigious. I'm not actually saying that a that was a horrible idea for him to choose the path that he chose, because who knows, he might be very happy that he went the finance route. But I just bring that example up because I wonder how many of us have chosen the path that society says is more acceptable. Becoming a doctor instead of an artist, becoming um, a consultant instead of a kindergarten teacher, um, working for your family's company instead of doing your own thing, right? Like all of those voices of programming and conditioning are internalized. They're not from you. And that's really one step that keeps all of us from being authentic, right? It's not a fault. It's not a flaw. It's just something to recognize. When there's something that you want to do and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Notice where does that voice that says I can't do that, where is that coming from? Is it coming from your soul? Right? I can't move out of the country. I can't move to Hawaii and own a surf shop, or I can't do that. Is it coming from your soul, or is it coming from that internal voice in your head that's saying, what would people think if I did that? Right? So that's one thing. And once again, this is not to beat yourself up. This is to start being conscious about the voices in your head that tell you no, or not yet, or maybe later, right? Is it is it coming from a strategic place? Like, before I quit my job and move to Hawaii and open a surf shop, do I have enough savings? Is my family on board if I have a family? Is this the best thing? And are you being strategic about it, or is it fear? Fear of what others will think. Okay. So that's the first one. The second one is anchor into your self-trust, right? Authenticity is rooted in trusting yourself. When you trust yourself that you can navigate something, that you can be resilient, that this is the best thing for you, you anchor into that, which means you anchor more into your authenticity. And y'all, as I am talking to you, what as I'm talking to you, talking to myself. Okay, use the pillars, or the tenets that I have given you before, of gratitude, self-care, self-love, slowing down, and at the very top of all of that, radical authenticity, to regulate your nervous system, right? Let's all breathe. To regulate your nervous system. The more you nourish yourself, the safer your nervous system feels, um, the safer your body feels. Let's see, the less you need external validation. So the more regulated our nervous system is, which we'll talk more about this another time, because I am all about nervous system regulation. I am about like trauma release, deep breathing, aligning your chakras, yoga nidra, stretching, yoga, so many good, wonderful, juicy things to regulate your nervous system. Because, like I just said, the more your nervous system is regulated, the safer you feel in your body. And the safer you feel in your body, the less you need external validation. Because if I am feeling completely safe and nourished and good about who I am, the less I care about what other people think. Like, I absolutely love my hair. Sometimes we fight. Sometimes the curls, you know, sometimes the curls are not doing what I want them to do. But for the most part, I absolutely love my hair. So if someone talks negatively about my hair, I am so rooted and validated and my nervous system feels good about who I am as far as my hair. You could call my hair ugly, and I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. Why? Because I mm, I feel safe in my hair and who I am. And that's not everyone. I'm not talking about my hair. Everyone's not. Actually, everyone doesn't feel safe in their hair, particularly being a Black woman in this world and in America, where our hair historically and presently is very wildly policed. Like there's a law on the books called the Crown Act that literally says that Black people, women in particular, cannot be discriminated against or fired because of their natural hair, right? Like imagine anyone else walking into a job having their natural hair, right? Let's say it's straight and it's brown hair, to the shoulders, and someone saying, no, you can't work here, your hair is not appealing, it's unruly, it's not professional. And that has happened, like I said, historically and present day, Black women are shamed for their hair. So I've had to do a lot of work. We talked about that internal voice. I've had to ask myself, where is it coming from when I'm like, oh, my hair is ugly, or oh, I need to change it, or oh, it's not professional, or oh, it's not good enough. Where is that internalized voice coming from? Because it's not coming from me. Because those of you who believe in a higher power or God or spirit or the universe, why would the universe make you? I'll use hair for example. Why would the universe make my hair like this if it wasn't good? And I will say that to everyone who is somehow marginalized, who doesn't fit the norm that our society has conditioned us to believe is the best, right? Why would your higher power, your soul, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever faith you prescribe to, and if you don't prescribe to a faith, why would you be made the way that you're made if you aren't good enough, right? So I'm saying who you are is amazing. Who you are is good. And we talk about regulating that nervous system to know that you were wonderfully and beautifully made exactly how you are, the size you are, the skin color you have, the culture, the race, the ethnicity, the nationality that you are. All of that is good. All of that is good. Call it all joy. So you don't need as much or any external validation if your nervous system is rooted that you are the ish, right? I don't know if I can curse on here, but if you know that you're all that and you're a baddie with a bag of chips, nobody could tell you anything because we have seen people, we've seen those women or those men walk down the runway or down the sidewalk, and they just exude an air of I am who I am and I love it. One of my favorite things is on social media is to see older women, and when I say older, I'm talking about 70s or 80s, and they are colorful. They're like beautiful peacocks, but they're women, and they've got the hat and they've got the makeup and they've got the jewelry and they're just the rings and they're just baddies. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I love it. That's who I want to be when I grow up. Don't wait until you're 70 or 80 to be fabulous. Be fabulous right now. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about is practicing micro bravery. Let's talk about building our authenticity muscle daily, every day, every day. This is exciting. This is exciting. Think of it of like going to the gym, but for your authenticity, right? Start small. Say what you really think in a conversation. A lot of times, especially us women, especially us gals, also anyone that's marginalized, right? I mentioned earlier, we tend to shrink. We want to be small so no one sees us. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. A lot of us, dare I say, um, are people pleasers. Not me. I'm a reformed people pleaser. You are a reformed people pleasers. We are no longer people pleasers, y'all. We ain't doing it. We're not pleasing others. We're pleasing ourselves. So when someone says something that's out of pocket, dare I say, especially with what's going on now, right? If someone says something misogynistic, like women are stupid, if someone says something hateful towards immigrants, or someone says something that's homophobic or transphobic or racist, or exhibits some misogynoir, and this is xenophobia. If someone says something about the wars going on all over the world being justified, y'all, I know it's hard. And this might not be such a small muscle, and you don't even have to really get into that, but maybe you could just say, "Hmm, I don't agree with that." Or you could just say, "Why do you think that?" It little tiny things that will push against uh what people consider okay to say, that's just blatantly destructive, right? And I understand a lot of times we are not in safe places to do that, whether that's with our family, with our romantic partners, in school, in the workplace. Sometimes it's not safe to do that. I worked a job once, and my manager said, "You don't see color." And I said something and I was like, "What's wrong with seeing color?" Yeah, I got fired that day. I got fired that day. So yeah, you kind of test the waters with who you're around, like if you're safe. But let's say it's a friend, or maybe, your spouse or children, or somewhere where it's safe to do so. Gently, it's okay to question, very small, and that brings out your authenticity of who you are and what you believe in. That was pretty major example. I probably should have done a smaller example, like if someone is someone walks by and they mention something disparaging about that person. uh like, that skirt is a little too short for her age. That's something maybe a little safer. You can say, "Well, why do you think that?" Right? You're challenging the cultural conditioning. I definitely don't want to get y'all fired. I don't want to get y'all fired talking about the wars, and I'm being very careful about what I say. But letting people know where you stand in the world is authentic. And I can authentic I am very authentic when it comes to the oppression of people. Will say that. If someone if I'm in a safe space and someone brings up something that is disparaging to humanity, yeah, people know who I am. They like, "Oh no, don't talk about that around Kimberly, because she gonna question you." Because I'm like, "Why do you think that?" "Well, what do you think about this?" "Well, why is that?" If you ask why enough, if you just ask why enough, people will uh not be able to keep their questionable questionable thoughts. Okay, let's move on from this, because I'm about to go full social justice warrior on you all. We're talking about you. We're talking about you, how you could be more authentic. So once again, saying what you really think in a conversation, not shrinking, right? So the other person isn't offended, right? Wearing what you want that makes you feel powerful. I just spoke about that. Like, the particularly, like I said, my favorite thing are the older women who are wearing the bright colors, and they wear their fashion as an art, right? So wearing what you want, particularly for women, we are so judged for what we wear. If we're young and we wear a short skirt, oh, we look like a slut. If we're old and we wear a short skirt, oh, she's too old to wear that. If you wear bright colors, don't you think that's kind of loud and flashy? Um, I really think the world wants women to be quiet and meek and submissive, and wearing bright colors, wearing cool artistic clothing, wearing all black. Even if we wear bright colors, we're judged for it. If we wear all black, we're judged for it. Oh, you need to put some more color into your wardrobe. Y'all, wear what makes you feel good. Wear what makes you feel powerful. Wear what is authentically matching to your personality. And also, what else you can do to practice the micro bravery is set tiny boundaries, right? If you have told someone, I don't accept work calls after 6, actually, it's kind of a big boundary, but let's go with it. If you told someone, I don't work after 6 o'clock, or don't call me, email me instead. That's authentically you saying, this is who I am. This is how I value my downtime off of work. Please adhere to it. You're being authentic with your wishes. Another thing is posting online. Like I was saying about gently challenging people whose views negatively impact humanity, right? As far as racism or misogyny or xenophobia. I mean, unfortunately I could go on and on and on. Also, what you post online really says who you are authentically, right? If you were reposting tweets or anything, Instagram post or LinkedIn posts that you know that are dehumanizing others, that tells you who that person authentically is, right? So you can do the same. Even if it's something loving and kind, like maybe you have hidden your spirituality, like I definitely have in the past, and you post something about spirituality or about clearing chakras or about the spirit world. It's okay. If you feel safe and if you feel, even if you don't feel comfortable, but you know in your heart that this is going to help others and this is who you are, girl, go ahead and post it. Go ahead and post the truth, those truth telling moments, right? So that's just another way to be authentically yourself. Not, I'm not saying not being concerned about what other people think, but when that does come up, asking yourself, once again, that very first step, where does that thought come from? If I post this spiritual meme about Buddha, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of picking something. If I post that, what will people think about me? Where's that coming from? Right? Is that your voice asking? Is that your soul saying, no, don't post that? Because it could be your soul keeping you safe. But most likely it's the cultural conditioning, because maybe you live in a town, in a culture, in a society, in a workplace that um, is very religious, and you are hesitant. That's a good word. You are hesitant to share another point of view. Once you get to, I believe, true authenticity, you'll post it. And I guarantee you other people will be like, oh, I'm glad you did. So once again, the example of my managing director saying, I don't see color, and me saying, I didn't exactly say what's wrong with seeing color, but I did uh say that there's nothing wrong with seeing color. In fact, seeing color is a wonderful, beautiful thing. And we should all marvel in the fact that people are different colors, different races, different ethnicities, different nationalities. So even though I did get fired, right, it was a contract job, which I really enjoyed, which I'm kind of bummed that I got fired, but obviously that wasn't the place for me, right? But after I said that, I had 3 people come up to me after that meeting and say, wow, yeah, this was a meeting. It wasn't one-on-one where she told me I don't see color and then I just told her. It was in a large group setting, which is probably why I got fired, because she was embarrassed. Now I know to do better. But back then I was like, because I really didn't understand what's wrong with seeing color. Seeing color is great. And it also didn't help that I was the only Black person in the room, probably out of 30 people. So after that, I did have 3 women come up to me and say, I'm so glad you said something. I didn't have the nerve to say something. And I thought that was very obtuse of her to say that. And I was like, oh my goodness. So sometimes when you're being authentic, it brings other people to you who also want to be authentic, or it brings other people to you who um aren't able to be authentic, and you're speaking for them. And once again, with that example, I do have to say, being authentic, you're going to get pushback at times. People are going to say, your well, your shirt is too loud, your skirt is too short, your hair is too curly or too natural, and you might get fired. So I don't say that to scare you, but I do have to say, being fired um was actually a great thing, because it made me authentic, right? I went through a lot. We'll talk about that another day, but it made me realize that conforming to the norm isn't always good. And sometimes conforming to the norm and suppressing your authenticity will be the exact opposite of what your life needs. So, all right. So, thank you all for being here. Leave in the chat um what authenticity means to you, right? Leave in the chat one of the 3 things that really spoke the most to you, whether that was the practicing micro bravery, anchoring into your power with the self trust, or understanding your programming, like where that inner voice. And, if you do hear that inner voice, tell me where it comes from. Does it come from your parents? Does it come from your culture, right? Does it come from your religion? So curious. If you're watching on the replay, hi from the future. I love you all. If you are interested in coaching or coming to my workshops, just check out the link in my bio or message me. I would love to work with you. And I go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Once again, my name is Kimberly Hess, cultural anthropologist and your favorite empowerment coach. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on YouTube. I love you all. And